Welcome to the Bliss Movement, a podcast for big-hearted, driven women daring to be great who know that this starts by pouring love into themselves first. I'm Dr. Fee. I'm passionate about helping women to stop tuning out and burning out, but to tune within, reconnect with your heart, feel lit up, follow your bliss, and live life on your terms. So, get ready to expand your life beyond what you thought was possible when it comes to healing, wealth, love, purpose, and leadership. I remember waking up with this heavy feeling on my chest. Each morning there would be this weight of despair, of dread, thinking about all the things I have to do that day, and what I should be doing, and how I'm not enough. And after moments, I'd finally something would kick in, be like, no, let's keep going. And I'd push it down and I'd jump out of bed and the day would start again. And that was my existence for many, many months. The hardest part about my burnout was two things. The first was this constant feeling of never enough. I would ruminate about what I said and what he said and what my boss said and what was, what decisions I made that day. And I was just constantly in my head, living in my head, disconnected from my heart and just doing all the things I should be doing, but never feeling like that was enough. And the second was who I was becoming. And it was this sense of loss and grief in this, because I would have moments where I'd be looking at myself and be like, who is she? Like, this is not me. Oh, I want me back. But feeling powerless and stuck in what that looked like. There was this, if I remember this one night, where I was trying to study. My husband was making all this noise. And I was just so angry, and I jumped up and I rushed outside, and there he is. He'd broken his clavicle the week before, so one arm is in a sling. And in that he has one of those carving forks and a vegetable on the end of it, and he's got a pot, and he's trying to cut the vegetables and stop them from slipping away from the knife, because he's trying to cook me dinner with a broken arm. And I was spitting chips. I was angry. I was explosive. I was raging at him. And a part of me, it's like I dissociated and I was looking down. I was just like, who the hell am I becoming? Like, I could notice myself in this rage, pushing away the person I absolutely love and adore. I was just like, I felt so ashamed. I felt guilty. I felt heartbroken and a deep sense of loss, but also very powerless. Like, what the hell? This is not what I want. And I had looked around in life to see, what can I do about this? It seemed to me that there was two solutions. My mentors, my supervisors, the other doctors, my peers and colleagues. There was two things. You either drank alcohol and debriefed, spoke constantly about medicine, or the second, you took up running marathons. And I didn't think that was actually, that wasn't the right solution for me. This was wreaking havoc on every aspect of my life. My physiology, I was feeling so tired and sluggish. I've had an autoimmune thyroid condition since I was 16, and my biochemistry was just going off. I was getting PMS. I was losing myself in my hormones every month. And it was impacting me on an intimacy connection level. Like, I had nothing left to give. And I would lose myself in these fits and this anger and oh my gosh, and cause harm. And there's a sense of knowing that I was projecting all of my hurt onto other people, because it just felt like that's what was happening. But I just, you just don't know how to resolve this discomfort and disease within me. On the outside, I look like you wouldn't have known this. I'm high achieving, high performing, driven. I was working and studying full time. I mean, honestly, I looked like it had it all together, but this was the hell that I was in. And then finally, after many, many, many months of denial of this feedback, denying how this was wreaking havoc in my relationship, denying how I wasn't enjoying my work and I doubted myself and I lost my confidence, denying all of that. Finally got to this moment where I couldn't deny it anymore. I completely decompensated. I was trying to help one of my patients. I experienced this full body tremor and I felt like I just wanted the world to swallow me whole. It was most likely a panic attack. And I just felt such humiliation. Let myself down. I couldn't handle life. And this had happened in front of my boss. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Because everything that I valued about me was tied to my career. I didn't know who I was. And so as soon as I start to lose that position that I couldn't be a doctor because I'm an absolute mess, I'm now left with who the hell am I? Who the hell am I? And so for me, I had to stop tuning out. I was seeing my body turning against me. I was blaming other people. I was feeling powerless to my situation. This is just how it has to be. I just have to push down and push on because I've got my exams coming up. When I do that, then I'll rest. Then I'll take care of myself. Then I'll be kinder to me. Fortunately, I spoke to my beautiful sister Kylie, and she was like, sweetheart, I'm so worried about you. And she said to me, Fee, come to Sydney. I was living in Darwin. Come to Sydney. I'm going to book you in for an energy healing to help you with this. And I was just like, whoa, are you kidding me? You're such a hippie. No way. Do you know who I am? That morning, I kid you not, we had focus on all the evidence base behind the treatment of heart disease with amiodarone, and like my world was in the world of drugs and symptoms and disease and the mainstream medical paradigm. To say that here, go do energy healing, I was just like, oh my gosh. A few days later, I came back to her and I said, you know what else is there? I really want to feel better. And this experience for me was life-changing. It was an absolute spiritual awakening, because in that I got a glimpse of the true nature of who we are and how tuning out to my heart, how I felt, disconnecting from my body so that I could just live life stuck here, pushing myself on, high achieving, being driven, being ambitious, doing it all, just do it, let's go, feel the fear and do it anyhow. Yeah, it had served me to a point. It's why I had accomplished such success. Had done medicine, achieved Dean's Commendation in my year 6 of medicine, my final year, doing a Masters of Public Health with distinctions. I'm a high achiever. I'm a perfectionist. I like to do things. If I do it, I do it well. All of that had served me until it couldn't, until it didn't, until it actually served me to a point of burnout. And in this process of living in a survival state, we rely on what we know, and we kind of just keep doing what we've been doing, but more of it, thinking that that's going to help. We're going to think ourselves out of burnout, but we end up even more depleted, feeling more spent, more broken. And then finally in this session, this energy healing, I was able to see how this tuning out from my heart, my body, it was all just giving me feedback. It was telling me, like, it was this opportunity to hey, there's this part of me that needs to be loved back to whole. There's a part of me, this shame, this heartache, this angst, this trauma. While Africa was incredibly rewarding, it was freaking challenging. And I didn't have the resources to meet myself in that experience. And that was only heightened because then here I am in this full-on, like, medical system, being a doctor, going from my, as a junior medical doctor, you're working, you're studying for your exams. There's a lot of pressure. And it amplified these tendencies within me of people pleasing, of perfectionism, because our emotional nature wins every time. We think just because we say, be calm, it's all going to be okay. I've got this. Just because we tell ourselves that doesn't mean that we'll feel differently. It doesn't mean that we will follow through with the things that we know are good for us, eating healthy, taking care of ourselves, resting, feeling relaxed when we switch off from work, switching off from work. You might be like, okay, I want to have work-life balance, and you put in place all the time management and boundaries and all the things that you need to do. But when you actually get to it, you realize, oh, I can't switch off. Why? Because there's a part of you, an emotional part of you, that's still tied in that anxiety and overwhelm. And it's not that you have a diagnosis or you need to, fix yourself. It's this invitation to come in, to tune into that part of you. It only gets louder and louder until you actually tune in and meet it and love it back into whole. And so for me, I just got to this point where I was like, I don't want to just manage this. I truly want to feel free and light. After this session, I walked out and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I can breathe again. And my sister said to me, how was it, Fee? And I was like, it was amazing. It was profound. But what was that? I had this experience where it's like shock, paradigm shock. I had devoted my life to medicine, to helping people, to saving the world. I wanted to save the world. And here I just wake up call. There's so much more to be understood about how the body, mind, and heart actually works. That was on the Saturday. Come the Tuesday, I made the decision. It was like this light bulb moment. And it was like building, it was this crescendo of like discomfort and like, this internal like battle and niggling feelings like, wait up, what am I doing? And then finally, ding, I am going to devote my life to understanding what the hell that was, what healing truly is, how the mind, heart, spirit, body actually work. I'm going to devote myself to it for me, for my own healing, and for all of my patients for the rest of my life, because this is it. And the light and the strength and the, when things just land and it's just like, yes, this is it. I never looked back. I can honestly say I just was like, this is what has to happen. I cannot have experienced that. I've got tingles just thinking about it. And then close the door on it. And I invite you to do the same. If you've had those moments of like miraculous moments of insight and like opportunity and an invitation to step forward, to truly get to know thyself, to tune in, do it. Because that is why we're here. This is the truth of our human experience, is to wake up to the truth of who we are. And we get so lost in the nature of our mind and living life, tuning out, stuck in our head, telling ourselves stories, believing the stories that we tell ourselves to be true, and they're not. Our mind can truly be helpful. It can be the advocate. It can be the cheerleader. Like, it can tell you, Fee, you're beautiful, you're awesome, you're so freaking inspiration. Get out there, do that work, shine your light, sweetheart. Or it can be like, oh my God, what the hell? Who the hell do you think you are? What if they don't like you? What if you get judged? What if you ruin everything? Our mind can be friendly, it can be helpful, it can be resourceful, or it can be freaking unfriendly, unhelpful, unresourceful. Have you noticed that? We identify so strongly to our mind. I am Fee the doctor. My value is tied in this. We're tied to these predictable ways of thinking. We're ingrained in that. This is how we're taught. Our culture, our society, our upbringing tells us this. But we're more than that. Within us is a power of truth that is wishing to be emerged, to drive our life, to lead our life. That is following your bliss, not someone else's agenda, your knowing, your sense of knowing. How else do you create a life on your terms if it isn't actually led by a bigger part of you? So for me, my recovery from burnout, chapter 1, was this beautiful process of awareness and tuning in and getting to know that there is more to me than this. Waking up to the true nature of my mind and that I'm more than these painful stories and narratives, and that actually I can learn how to shape the stories that I tell myself, knowing that one story can lift me up and elevate me and open me up to wealth of all forms, or another story can completely punch me in the guts and leave me wounded, and forever giving up on my dreams. Tuning out leads to burnout. And so I'm going to leave you with a little bit of homework, some inspiration to think about how does this apply to you. And the very first step of any healing is awareness of our suffering. So many of us want to step straight into the positive affirmations and the positive visualization and manifestation. You got to come back and be anchored at this first step of awareness. And that is the nature of our mind and suffering. And this is what the Buddhists talk about, and it's in most spiritual traditions, around the necessity of suffering. How suffering actually supports us. Our challenges bring us back to the truth of who we are. When we get to a place of bliss, of joy, of a new level of completeness, we thank our challenges to be here. And that is something that I've learned through my beautiful connection with my beloved teacher, Sri Shakti Amma. It's our challenges that we get to thank when we're along the path of our spiritual journey. And when you're starting off, you won't get that. You'll be like, no, because you identify so strongly with suffering. You believe that you are the pain. This thing has happened to me. Like, oh my God, my life is falling down around me. I'm helpless. Oh my gosh, I'm burnt out. We believe that is who we are. And suffering is different to pain. Pain is when we have events in our lives that hurt us. Like there's pain in them, right? Heartache, loss, grief. Suffering is where we deny ourselves that experience. And in turn, it becomes us. We get stuck in that. And we lose ourselves in it. We tune out of it, and so in turn we become depressed, anxious. We become unwell. It gets stuck in us. It causes dis-ease. I see this in my patients in terms of when they do this work, the shifts that happen in their physical health, vitality, the capacity to heal and resolve, because of the body. If you give it what it needs, it will restore and balance and harmonize once again. And so it's about tuning in to those things that block what the body knows it needs to do and can do very, very well, and releasing those blocks so that the body can heal and recover. But it's not just that, because everything is an extension of ourselves. Phase 1, tuning out, leads to burnout. Phase 1 is where we start to become aware. And I'm going to invite you, and it can be uncomfortable. You don't need to come up with solutions at this stage. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about being aware of what you're telling yourself with these feedback happening. Like, what meaning are you giving your body when it has energy crashes, or you get hormonal, or you have bleeding irregularities, or your libido's gone off, or you're getting fatter, or you're feeling, foggish? What are you telling yourself? Are you feeling angry at your body? Are you blaming your body? Are you saying, oh my God, it's broken? What if it's giving you feedback? What if this is your body loving you and saying, hey, something ain't right. Something ain't right. Stop tuning out. Tune in, sweetheart. What if everything that's happening in your life right now is there for you to receive feedback that I need to course correct. This is not what I desire. This is not what lights me up. I'm not prioritizing myself. Here I go again. This frustration I'm feeling isn't because of them. It's because I've crossed me. This frustration and blame that I have against her, she's let me down, is because actually I feel let down by myself. Awareness. Awareness is the first step. It's the most courageous step because it's about us starting to desire understanding who we are. And we're not the mind. We are not the mind. We are meaning-making machines. We are meaning-making machines. We are having real human experiences where you will experience pain, heartache, depth of grief, loss, anger, rage, frustration, resentment. You're going to feel this. And the mind will say it's because of this, because of that, because of this, because of this, because, oh, you're not loved, you're a failure, you're a mess, you're a terrible person. It's not true. It's a level of truth. It's a meaning, a narrative that your mind is giving you something, giving this feeling, this experience. So we're going to explore this in other episodes to come. But I really want you to walk away with a sense of, holy smokes, maybe I can stop blaming my body, blaming life, and recognize that there might be something in it for me. Instead of tuning out, maybe what Dr. Fee is banging on about tuning in, maybe I'm going to discover more. And this is going to be so helpful. If you've tried everything, the diets, the therapy, the specialists, surgery, time management app, business coaching, or reading all the self-help books, all those things, I get you, sweetheart. I do. I know how difficult it can be. And especially because we then start giving meaning of like, look, it doesn't work. Look, I'm still broken. Look. Tuning in is different to all of that. It is this deep, this beautiful process that will take you to deep connection with you. It's so rewarding, and it starts with you recognizing that maybe in life there's things that are happening right now. What if it was feedback that supports me? What if this is universal love giving me what I need? That perspective, that way of living, if you choose to adopt it, I can assure you in 3 months down the track, 12 months down the track, 5 years, 10 years, your life, everything has changed. You will change the trajectory of your life. You will have profound shifts just by looking at life differently and questioning, like having an awareness. I'm not my mind. I'm more than my mind. Let me wake up to the truth of my mind and see that sometimes I tell myself nice things and other things, and there's something bigger within me. There's something watching the mind. Now, this is going to be another conversation for another time. I can feel myself sort of heading off into that tangent. I'm going to bring it back to wrap up this episode to just say, what are you tuning out on? And what if tuning in is exactly what's needed right now? And if so, I invite you to check out my Bliss Sisterhood and Expanding Bliss. It's been so much fun having you here, and stay tuned for the next episodes. It has been so beautiful spending this time with you. If you found today's episode inspiring or helpful, please subscribe, give us a good review, and share the love. I invite you to be a part of the Bliss movement. Join our Bliss Sisterhood or apply to join my Expanding Bliss program. The links are in my bio, and I cannot wait to be doing live with you soon. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'll be sharing more training, stories, strategies, and solutions to guide you towards your bliss.